Welcome into the Vols Podcast on GoVols247.com. I am Ben McKee, and I am joined by Will Heflin on this Monday, February 23rd edition of the podcast, a podcast that Will and I have not been looking forward to for many reasons. It's not going to be fun to talk about Tennessee baseball's weekend inside of Lindsey Nelson Stadium, but obviously baseball is the furthest thing from what's most important and what's on the forefront of our minds this weekend. And I just can't believe that we're even having to talk about this. And that's that our good friend Wes Rucker has passed away, as you all know by now. Will and I were supposed to record a podcast Thursday night to preview the Kent State series and just do our typical preview podcast, and unfortunately found out right after dinner that Wes had tragically passed away in a car accident on Thursday afternoon. And we've just kind of been shaken up, quite frankly, since then, and would not have been right to record a podcast, but more importantly, it's just our hearts and mind were not in it. I don't want to speak for Will, but I know that I was rattled on Thursday. I believe Will was as well. I'm still a bit rattled, starting to come out of the fog. That doesn't seem real. That this took place. Wes, man, he was the definition of a unique person and the definition of one of a kind, and that's what made him such a great person and so lovable in so many ways. And I just still cannot wrap my head around his tragic passing, and going to miss him dearly. And our heart breaks for Wes, heart breaks for Lauren, his wife, who is expecting, and they have a daughter that's due here in the next couple of months. And then, of course, you all are familiar with Hank's story as well, Wes's 4-year-old son. And Wes had a huge family, a big family that he loved dearly, beyond Lauren, Hank, and baby girl that's on the way. Gus was obviously a big talking point for Wes as well. You all know how much he loved Gus, right there with Hank. So just a tragic day on Thursday, and a really bummer of a weekend that we're still trying to recover from. And I don't know that we'll recover anytime soon, but we will forge ahead as best we can, because that's what Wes would want to do. But we are going to miss Wes dearly, Will.
We are, and I didn't have as much time with him as you did, but just still hard to find words, and there really are none that are truly right to say, other than thoughts and prayers to his entire family, and especially the wife and kiddos. But for me, every time I look at this microphone from here on out, like, Wes sent it to me. And so I'll always think of him first when I look straight into the microphone. And you said it, man. Like, he was such an interesting character. And, his social media personality wasn't how he was with us. I mean, he was an amazing person to talk to. I remember some nights just sitting here with him for a couple minutes while you're trying to get the kids down or something, and he would talk to me like I was a Premier League expert, and I had no clue. But he always did that. Like, whoever he was talking to, it seemed like he tried to make them feel like they were the expert. You know what I mean? And he just loved sports, and he loved what he did, and he was really dang good at it. And part of being really good at it was that he had to be controversial sometimes, but he never was. He never was outside the lines. He called things the way he saw it, and he loved to talk sports. And so we'll miss him certainly here on the podcast. And it seemed like he was really enjoying WBIR, had started that chapter in his life. And so just very tragic. And I know it's been a really rough couple days for you, man. So just feel for everybody, really. And he's in a better place.
He is in a better place. I find comfort there. But it's just so tragic for so many different reasons. He did go through the transition from 24/7 to WBIR, but on the other side of that was, as you just mentioned, a job that he was seemed to have really fallen in love with. He had me over to do his show, Wes Rucker at 3, and I mean he was just beaming with joy to show me the WBIR studio and show me his new setup, and it was a different role for him, not as much writing as he had been doing in the past. Of course, he still was writing, but it was more video stuff, and it seemed like he had really fallen in love with that aspect of our profession and our business, and he was just so excited for that. So not only professionally did what was he really excited about his future, but just personally, man, family wise, it's just tragic. Obviously, with his wife and Hank and newborn that's on the way, but also he was about to become an uncle as well, and his sister Molly posted on social media about how although they were a bit older to becoming parents, it still felt like there was so much more of their life to live, and so much more of their life in front of them, and for that to be taken away because of a freak tragic accident is just so heartbreaking. And I really hate it for Wes because, as you all know, he loved nothing more than his family, and to me that is one of the best traits that you can have and be about as a person, is just being a true family man, and putting your family above everything. He was obviously very opinionated, as we all are, and he had a great love for journalism and covering sports and talking about sports, but that paled in comparison to his love for his family. And to have that taken away from him, when he still has so much life in front of him, just it truly breaks my heart, and breaks his family's heart as well. So we are really going to miss Wes. I only worked with him for 3 years, and it felt longer than that for a lot of good reasons, because we traveled the country together. We drove to Orlando and back together. We drove to Detroit and back together. We flew to New York City for the Sweet 16 together and back, and visited in the city for several days while we were there together. I roomed with him countless times on road trips. I spent 2 weeks with him in Omaha while Tennessee won a national championship. There's just countless trips to everywhere across the Southeast, and even a couple further out, that you learn a lot about a person. And I'll remember those trips forever. And I would not have the job that I do now without Wes. He was the one that kind of spearheaded 247 talking to me when they had an opening, and really vouched for me. And I would not be sitting in the seat that I am today without him. And it can it's hard to get off the mat in this profession, and really make a decent living to take care of your family. And he allowed me to do that. He allowed me to take care of my family in a really decent way. And I will forever be in debt to Wes for that. He was a big fan of mine when I still don't see why he was. And it's just, I owe him a lot, and I will remember him for a lot of different reasons, a lot of great reasons. And he's going to be greatly missed. And he would give the shirt off of his back for anybody. And I mentioned this on WBR on Friday night during the segment that they did for his seat at the baseball game. You hear people say that about somebody, that, oh, such and such would give the shirt off their back for anybody. And that was who Wes was. That was truly Wes. He did not meet a stranger. He could talk to a brick wall. And I think that's another great quality, as good of a quality as somebody can have, is to treat everybody the same. And Wes epitomized that. I first met Wes fresh out of college, was covering a baseball game at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, met him in the press box. And of course, we all know who Wes Rucker is when we meet him. and that's just not how he acted. He acted as if he and I had been friends for 10 years, best friends for 10 years, not as if, okay, I've been doing this job for X amount of years, and here's this kid out of college. I don't know who he is. I don't know who he works for. I'm not going to give him the light of day. And he did. He talked. We talked for a long time, and he treated me like I was his best friend of 10 years. And there's so many stories of others that have had the same encounter and experience with Wes when they were younger and new to the profession, and that is so rare, so rare. I think in a lot of walks of life, but especially in this journalism profession, of where a lot of egos are involved, and a lot of long tenured media members would not do that or act like that towards younger people. They don't act like that. I've been around plenty of older journalists who won't even look at younger journalists. And Wes was always asking, how can I help you? Not only would he make you feel welcome, not only would he talk to you, but he would ask, how can I help? And he would follow up as well. He would give you his number, he would message you, he would reach out, he would consistently reach out. Wes was just the absolute best. I know there's this Twitter persona of him, and he certainly had some takes, but that just doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. At the end of the day, who you are as a person far outweighs who you are professionally, and that's not at all to say that Wes was not good at his job, because he was. He was a great journalist. He was a great writer. He worked hard, and he the point that I'm making is that he kind of got a bad rap at times because he was not afraid to shy away from his opinion in a day and age where, yes, a lot of people have opinions, but if they feel like it's gonna ruffle some feathers, they'll keep it to themselves. And Wes was true to himself, for better or for worse, and I admire that a ton about him. And I'm going to miss him greatly, and I will do my best to honor the great Wes Rucker for as long as I live and for as long as I step into a press box, whether that's football, baseball, basketball. I will do my best to honor him in so many different ways. And Wes, we're going to miss you, my friend. All right, Will. I don't know that there's a great way to move on from that, unfortunately. But we're going to talk some baseball on here to at least give a little bit of peace of mind to not only the fans, but I need it. I need some peace of mind. I need a distraction. Is what I'm getting at. And we'll again, no easy way to transition from that, but we're going to talk some baseball now in Wes's honor. That's what he would do. So we're going to talk baseball, and unfortunately, it is not as pleasant of a podcast as it was last weekend, because it was a rough weekend for Tennessee baseball, losing a series to Kent State. It's their first non-conference series loss since you were playing, which is not a good thing. First non-conference series loss since Tennessee lost to Wright State in 2020 before COVID canceled the season. It was Kent State's first series win over an SEC team since 2007. And we'll dive pretty in depth here. We're going to go kind of game by game and share some takeaways, and then we'll have some wrap-up thoughts as well with whatever points we don't hit on in the midst of kind of running through all three games. But just quite simply, not a lot went right for Tennessee baseball this weekend.
No, first slice of adversity or trouble in paradise in the Josh Elander era, and I think it came a little bit earlier than we had thought or hoped. But my one thing is that we can't hit the panic button, and we can't start making crazy comparisons, start looking at things too big picture, none of that. And I know that's easy to do, but if you really break it down, it was a bad weekend of baseball in kind of crummy conditions. And you had a team in there that was not a good matchup for you to be struggling offensively and then be sloppy on Sunday. And they were. They flat out were. And it's a little bit harder to swallow because it hasn't happened so long. But this is not super uncommon. This isn't damning our season. This doesn't mean that it's not a good baseball team. It means they played bad this weekend. And Kent State is the perfect opponent to beat you when you play like that. And by that, I mean bad with runners in scoring position, bad with executing runners on third, less than 2 outs, or bases loaded, less than 2 outs, situations like that. Not playing catch on defense, both the pitcher not playing catch with the catcher and everybody else not playing catch with each other behind them. You got exposed, man. Got exposed. So I think it's an opportunity to really flip it on its head and play really well this upcoming weekend. Like if they go out and smack UCLA on Friday night, everybody's gonna be laughing about last weekend, right? But if you don't play well this weekend, I think the Kent State result adds pressure to Arlington, because now if you don't have a good weekend, it's not a good look, right? But if you flip it on its head, it could turn out to be a really good thing. Like, oh, that was a wake-up call, and now they're settling in to the season, because it just doesn't look comfortable right now. There's no juice, and part of that was the weather. I get it, but too many guys that you were going to count on, that you knew you had to count on offensively, are in early season slumps, right? Not uncommon, but too big of a handful, right, for one or two guys to overcome. And even Blaine Brown, as good as he was last weekend, he had one of those weekends where he hit every ball he hit hard was right at somebody. And when everybody else is slumping and it's like he and Ford aren't Superman, well, where's your offense going to come from? You know what I mean? And so I really liked what Elander did on Sunday, mixing up the lineup a little bit, gave Bates a shot at second base. He moved Myatt to DH after game one. I mean, obviously he kind of had to at that point, but he did it, right? Arvidsson looked really good. Like I didn't leave this weekend thinking there was a single decision other than maybe Baiato in game 3, bringing him in. But again, it's early season. You got guys jockeying for position. You've got to do stuff like that to figure out what you got. But other than that, there wasn't a single decision where I was like, oh, I would have done this differently. Like he made the correct decisions and they didn't play well. So if there's anything to take away from the weekend, it's like, what does he got to do to get them ready? Because they're starting slow offensively. And just looked very, very frustrated, contagiously offensively. And then I think that bled into the defense on Sunday, because they went from 0 errors in 4 games to not clean baseball with a light switch. It was very odd.
Yeah, I agree with that last sentiment that you shared, that there weren't any decisions that he made outside of, I didn't like pulling Blanco early. I would have let him run him back out there for the 5th. And I was thinking that at the time. This is not me saying it in hindsight. I did not say it publicly anywhere, but I was thinking it in my head. I promise that I don't know. I feel like I would have run Blanco back out there, but we'll get into that discussion once we go through game 3. The point that I was going to share is that outside of that decision, there aren't any in-game decisions to question about with Josh Elander this weekend. The question would be why was the team so sloppy this weekend? Why were there some base running mistakes? Why did the catcher struggle to throw down to second base along with the middle infield? I kind of put that on the catcher and the middle infield. What was that the pitcher being slow to the plate and not really giving Stone a chance, and Stone trying to make up for that by rushing himself? Why was the offense all out of sorts? Why was the defense a mess on Saturday and Sunday? Like why was it so sloppy in weekend 2? That's the question to ask if you're wanting to criticize Josh Elander, which would be fair because it was a sloppy product. But there's a difference between freaking out and immediately grabbing the low-hanging fruit, which I think has been disappointing to see how many people have grabbed the low-hanging fruit, which is, oh, he's no Tony. He's no Tony. Tony would have never allowed for this to happen. He's Michael Early 2.0, this, that, and the other. But
none of them saw Tony's first season, by the way.
But also here's my thing, and
nobody was paying attention.
When I share this, I'm truly not trying to criticize Tony when I say this. It's more of me sharing that I don't think that we should be hitting the panic button right now or grabbing the low-hanging fruit, because last I checked, the issues that we saw this weekend were the same issues that we saw the last 2 months of last season when Tony Vitello was the head coach. And last time I checked, Tony Vitello helped Josh Elander build this roster. This is, in a sense, Tony's roster. Josh obviously has a big say in recruiting, evaluating, developing. But I'm just only referencing the low-hanging fruit of, Tony would have never allowed this to happen. Tony would have had all this energy, and the guys would have been up and ready to play, and this, that, and the other. Well, I mean, Tony helped put this roster together, and these are the same issues we saw the last 2 months of last season. And that's not – I'm not trying to blame Tony. I'm not excusing the sloppy play. I'm not excusing Elander. I'm only referencing how ridiculous I think the low-hanging fruit is this weekend, which is throwing your arms up in the air and acting as all of a sudden the guy that everybody wanted to be promoted to head coach, the guy that everybody was scared was going to leave Knoxville to go be the head coach at South Carolina, Mississippi State, or other SEC programs. Now he's awful, and they're not going to get it figured out. And it's Michael Early 2.0 after one weekend, and it's the second weekend of the season. It was sloppy. It was ugly. There's a lot that needs to be corrected, but the low-hanging fruit was very annoying on Sunday.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to throw dirt on Texas A&M. I certainly don't want to throw dirt on Early. I think he's going to be a good coach long term. From what I heard, and I don't have any super inside sources, but I have people around the game, right? He freaked out before anybody else did, and he did not have the temperament to steady the ship. He is very different than Josh Elander. So even if Tennessee doesn't win another ball game the rest of the season, it will be different than Texas A&M was last year, which I promise Tennessee will win at least one more. You got my guarantee they'll win at least one more baseball game this season. We have not seen the last Tennessee baseball win of 2026. So even if they only win one more, it's not going to be like that. So I don't want to hear those. I get it. Similar ways that they came into the job. After that, that's it. There's not that much similarities other than Elander's from Texas too. I don't even know if Early's from Texas, but he's in Texas now, so there's a similarity. But yeah, the thing that's hard for the fan base to swallow is, like you said, they hadn't lost a non-conference series since 2020, and that 2020 team was pretty good, by the way. I think it was 15-2 when the season got banged, and those Wright State
losses were to Wright State.
The Wright State losses were the two losses.
Your coaching staff that season was convinced that was going to be the first team to go to Omaha. Not the next year.
That was a pretty good team. I do also want to point out the 2023 season started 1-2, but it was in a tournament in Arizona. Therefore, it doesn't count as a non-conference series loss. But they lost to Arizona and Grand Canyon the first two games of the season. And we're also swept at Missouri to open up SEC play. And that team was probably the most frustrating team that, at least since I've been on with you, you've covered probably some more frustrating teams than that. But since 2021,
that was the most frustrating team.
That was the most frustrating team. And they made it to Omaha. So let's not freak out. Look, we get it. There's a lot of problems with this weekend. Some of them we'll probably have to address again and won't be fixed immediately. Some of those will be fixed immediately. You're playing in a big park. You're playing really good competition. It's not going to be 38 degrees. That was my only thing about you say you wouldn't have pulled Blanco. It's like, well, he's walked 5 guys and he hit how many too? He had 4 walks and a couple of hit batters. I think we hit 1 less than we walked that day. So 7 free passes. It's barely 40 degrees. I was cool with getting him out of there, but that was just me. And Blanco's my absolute favorite, but not his day. Kid from Massachusetts, you'd think would be a little more ready to throw in the cold, but I'm just giving him a hard time. I don't know how to reiterate it further or make it more clear that in my twisted way, I like that this happened.
I'm TBD to see if it was a good thing or not. We just don't know. Is it a sign of things to come, or was it a one-off? We just don't know yet, unfortunately.
I just think if you go play really well this weekend after what just happened, is there a better confirmation of like, yeah, we got our guy? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, this stinks right now, but it's like it could be spun way better than if they would have just steamrolled everybody. Even this upcoming weekend, they'd be like, oh, it's just a phenomenal roster. It's like we see that they can play like doo-doo and that they are not perfect and that they need to be developed and get better as the season goes on. So it's like it's right there in front of you to almost get more credit than you would have gotten had it just gone well the whole time. And for me, I have the confidence in Elander that he will not lose the locker room like Early did. Early lost the locker room in College Station last year. That was the rumor. I don't know that to be true, but it certainly looked like it. But yeah, we gotta talk about the hit batters though. Like from an on-field conversation, it's like that's area number 1 for me. Is like you want to pitch inside, great, but we can't be hitting people with breaking balls that we just didn't throw with full conviction. And I don't care how often you're throwing inside. I think we hit over 10 people this weekend.
Exactly 10.
Like what? How does that even happen, Ben? I'm very intrigued at the weirdness of that. I hope it was a fluke.
The 10 part of it is a fluke, but I continue to be concerned about the bullpen. I am very concerned about the bullpen until they prove me otherwise. It's a lot of guys that do have talent on paper, but a lot of youth, a lot of inexperience, a lot of guys that have not proven themselves to where they are bona fide guys in this league. And I'm mostly talking about outside of Brandon Arvidsson, but as we talked about on a recent podcast, even Arvidsson has something to prove. And there's another step that even he can take. But the bullpen, I just think it's worrisome. It's guys who haven't completely tapped in to their potential just yet. And until they do, I think it's going to be a bugaboo for Tennessee. They won't hit 10 guys every weekend, but the command issues were
that was mostly
glaring.
The starters.
Yeah.
That was mostly Teagan worked around his, but I think he had 4.
3, I think it was.
3. Teagan had 3. Blanco had 3. Mac hit a few.
Teagan
they kind of run over half.
Teagan had 3 walks, 3 hit batters. Mac had 3 walks, no hit batters.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
Blanco had 4 walks, 3 hit. No, that's extra base hits. 0. Blanco didn't hit anybody. Yeah, he didn't hit anybody. Just 4 walks. So Teagan was the only starter that hit somebody, and then the bullpen accounted for the rest.
Maybe I should have fact-checked myself before spewing that out.
Teagan had 3. Nick Abraham had 1. Brady Frederick had 1. Bo Rudy had 2. Braden Krenzel had 2. Ethan Beato had 1. And it was almost like the moment was too big for them. Biotto comes in and hits the first guy he faces, I believe, on the first pitch and loads the bases. It just the moment seemed to get to him. Nick Abraham did a good job of bouncing back from his. He plunked the first guy that he faced to bring in a run after relieving Biotto. He bounced back nicely, but still hits the first guy that he faces. And then Braden Krenzel, he hits two guys, and he looked awesome on Friday night in Game 1, and then almost took a step back, and not almost did take a step back in Game 3. Did not pitch with the same conviction. Hits two guys. He had one where I don't know what happened. Held on to the ball too long, slipped.
He slipped and then held on to it. Yeah, and
Had the yip on one.
after that, it was he was guiding it after that, and kind of
Yes.
don't blame him. But yeah, he was phenomenal on Friday, and then complete 180.
Bo Rudy melts down.
That was
in Game 1.
contagious on Sunday, though. I think
Yes,
it was.
it was. It was. I agree with you there. There's just I think I personally, as no need to beat a dead horse, but I think that this bullpen has a ways to go, and that the starters, their command was not ideal this weekend. Again, amongst all three of them, they gave up 10 walks. Landon and Teagan had 3 walks. Evan had 4, and then Teagan also had the 3 hit batters. So their command needs to improve as well, but at least they were able to work out of their adversity and pitch around it. The bullpen was just in complete meltdown mode outside of Brandon Arvidsson and Nick Abraham. Again, I thought Abraham did a good job of bouncing back from hitting the first batter that he faced. In hindsight, I would have liked to seen Abraham come in for Blanco instead of Biotto, but is what it is at this point. Brandon Arvidsson looked good in his season debut, did give up the 1 extra base hit, but struck out 5. Stuff
I
looked
thought
nasty.
Frederick was solid as well. Kind of steadied the
solid.
ship. Yeah.
Yeah, he was solid. He steadied the ship. He bailed out Bo Rudy on Friday when Bo Rudy blew the save, and he comes in with the bases loaded, 1 out, gets back-to-back ground balls, and then on Sunday in the series finale, he comes in and pitches 2.2 innings. And again, he was solid, don't get me wrong, but he still gave up 2 runs on 3 hits, did not walk anybody, struck out 5, but 2 runs on 3 hits and also hit a batter. So he was solid. He was steady, but that's something that's got to get figured out here. What did you see from Brandon Arvidsson in his debut?
About what we saw the last time he was out there. Just really good. Breaking balls there. Fastball had plenty of life. That'll make you feel better about the bullpen. And you got to remember, like, it was a bad weekend. Yes. Your starters are going to end up going longer. Your bullpen guys are going to end up being able to go longer. So, like, you need 4 or 5 at most. And so, like, early positioning. Arvidsson is your probably most trusted bullpen arm. And then I would say Frederick and Appenzeller are right there with each other. And they obviously have a lot of confidence in Bo Rudy, and the stuff looks good. Like, let's just see it. Maybe settle in a little bit. Maybe the kid from Duke needs to be stretched out a little bit because he came in, faced 1 hitter, got him out. Did he come back in the rest of the weekend?
No.
So maybe that's something we see. Maybe he can get you a full inning if you got 2 lefties coming up or something like that. And then again, like, Nick Abraham seems to be kind of that reliable, steady the ship type of guy. Probably not who you want to bring in a tie game and you need to strike out, but if you need some length or need a guy to keep you in a game if it's more offensive, he's been good.
If you need a ground ball, he can come in and get you a ground ball.
Yeah, and then Krenzel, like, he had the really good one, and then Sunday was just a flush it down the toilet day for everybody. So, I feel okay, not great, obviously, after the weekend, but I feel okay with where we're at in the bullpen. And similarly, I feel okay, but not great with where we're at offensively. And I'm sure we'll touch on that more after the break, but I'm maybe putting the cart before the horse, but it's like very mirror of each other. Um, both of kind of the same reasoning, maybe trying to do too much, maybe uh I don't know if moment's too big is the word, Ben, because again, it's Kent State. You'd like to think these kids have all pitched in big situations through the high school ranks or whatever. And it wasn't like there was any attendance record being broken on the second 2 days. Uh,
There was on
certainly
I think there actually was on Saturday. I was
on
at
Saturday. Okay,
Vanderbilt.
well,
I was at
definitely not
Vanderbilt
Sunday. It
on
was
No, I believe there was over 7,000 people at game 2 on Saturday. Again, I was not there, but I believe I saw a tweet from Eric Kane that said there was like 7,011 people, which would be a
okay.
new attendance record.
Okay. Well, when you have a solo
Or
home run
tickets
to
sold
start
at
the
least.
game. Yeah, when you have a solo home run to start the game and then you literally don't score the rest of the game, maybe it doesn't feel like it's sold out
I
or an
think
attendance record, but yeah.
here's my quick synopsis of like that thought, because the moment wasn't too big. You're right. I don't think that's the correct way to describe it. I think that they got a little too comfortable after Tyler Myatt bailed them out on Friday night, and they came back a little too comfortable, a little too on their heels, and you had one or two things go wrong early on, mostly on offense. Obviously, Landon Mack had a couple of moments where he had to pitch around some trouble, but it looked, again, I was at Vanderbilt. I got to watch the last 4 or 5 innings while I was working post game. And then before we recorded, I went back and shout out to Wheels on YouTube. I went back and watched the game. Landon had to pitch around a little bit of trouble, but it seemed like Landon was really good in his start on Saturday. So it wasn't necessarily the pitching, but you're a little too comfortable after being happy about the Tyler Myatt walk-off win. And then as a team, you see a thing or two go wrong. And because you are comfortable, because you are on your heels, things just kind of start to spiral. Before you know it, bad weather starts to kick in, and you're climbing uphill in bad weather. That's kind of what it felt like, is that they dug themselves a hole coming back from Friday's big win, and it just kind of spiraled on them. And the only thing that was going to get them out of it was that weekend coming to an end.
I think that's fair. Maybe thinking, okay, you get the home run. Now we're just going to come out and the bats will wake up, right? And it just didn't happen at all. Like, okay, we survived that one. Now we'll hammer them the next 2 games. Because usually when a team is better than the other team, regardless, there'll be one game where it's tight. And a lot of times that's on Friday because it doesn't matter where you're at. There's going to be a guy on the opposing team who's got really good stuff and is a really good gamer, that type of guy. Everybody's got a good Friday guy, right? So a lot of times Friday guys a little more nip and tuck, and then Saturday or Sunday can get away from you. But I don't know, man. Kent State, they seem pretty for real. And we'll know more. I guess that series loss will look better or worse as the season goes on, but the Tennessee and they will be so different 2 months from now. It really doesn't
Yes.
matter. But it was just one of those teams that early in the year, they are built to expose you if you let them, and Tennessee let them.
Yes, very much so. Before we do catch a break and come back and be more offensive here on the podcast, what did you see from Tegan and Landon and their starts? We talked about them in passing. I shared my thoughts on Landon. Seemed like he had a really, really good day on the mound, and just the swagger continues to stand out to me about Landon. He's not Liam Doyle level maniac, but I think there's some Liam Doyle in there to where he's not afraid to strut his stuff and let the other team know about it. And then Tegan, like I mentioned, Tegan was good. Didn't have his best stuff, but tip of the hat to pitching around that. He did not have a single clean inning in any of his 5 innings. So again, didn't have his best stuff, but was able to work around that, and he only gave up 1 run on 1 hit, the 3 walks and the 3 hit batter. 6 free passes is not good at all. But at least he was able to grit through it and work around it to only allow 1 run in 5.2 innings of work.
Did Liam Doyle have swag?
Yes, it just wasn't your traditional, rocking the chain or, the not
I
not
mean,
not
he
your
certainly
typical
has
swag.
juice. He's got fire, right? But I would never say. I mean, he was the epitome of a goofy lefty. That man ain't got no swag. No, all due respect to you, Mr. Liam Doyle, a phenomenal arm. And I'm not saying I do either, but you got no swag. And a lot of times the best ones don't. I just don't like that word. I don't know why.
Fair enough. Maybe swag is not the right word for Liam, but it is the
Swag,
right word for Landon. You're not going to convince me otherwise of that one.
yeah. I just think swag can be fake. I'm not saying anybody's is. Certainly
What
not Landon's.
what word do
I
you
just
like
I
to
like
replace
juice. You
swag?
can't fake juice.
But see, that's different to me. Swag is like the appearance. Juice is like the energy you put off on the mound. Landon, he's
And
got.
nobody says you have swag after you give up a homer. I think it just the word gets misconstrued. And there was actually a debate about this among some friends over the weekend because they, I think the word swag gets thrown around, but here's my thought about it. It's like people say, oh, he's got the swag after the strikeout, after the home run, after the success. And it's like, no, they had like swag is what you put on, like your Evo shield or, your
I agree with that.
sunglasses or your appearance or how you walk, right? Which can be faked. You can be awful at the game and have swag. But juice is like you strike out a dude and you strut around the mound. That's your juice. So Liam Doyle had plenty of juice and he was a psycho. I don't know. It's just
But see, like when somebody like when Jazz Chisholm pimps a home run, like that to me is swag as well. It's juice, but it's also swag to me. And like the picture I saw of Landon Mack with his big old chain on after the game, he had some swag dripping.
I get that, but people use swag as a prerequisite. Jazz Chisholm, you're saying is what? Pimping the home run. He achieved that, so now he's showing his swag or whatever. I don't know.
Well, Jazz is going to show his
It's
swag
just
whether he's
like
striking out or
at
hitting
that
a home
point,
run.
it doesn't matter what you do, is what I'm saying. Like Shohei Ohtani is a robot. He puts his head down and he runs. Like Aaron Judge,
Right.
no swag. No, but it's cool to hit 60 homers. Okay, Aaron Judge has swag. Maybe that's
He's
not
rocking Jordans, got the
that's not
armband, the
that's not
sleeve,
that came out way too quickly.
chain.
No, I'm thinking
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Paul Skeens, like, he's very cool. He looks cool because he throws 100 and he's got his socks up, yada yada. But it's like, if you watch the dude do an interview, like he's got no swag.
No.
Okay,
No.
That's beside the point.
But the
You asked me about
like
Teagan. What I saw in
Landon
Teagan
struts around the mound is
Yeah.
what I was,
Yeah.
and that's become more evident in each of these first two outings. I think he looked into the other dugout multiple times, and he's got a celebration after every strikeout. Like there's some Liam Doyle there in terms of the mannerisms.
Yeah, we got a lot of up north on the mound in Knoxville.
Maybe flair. Can we agree on the word flair? Landon Mack has a lot of flair on the mound, like Liam
Flair's
did.
fine. Yeah. This is why it was a hot button to me, is because I've heard that. I've heard the argument that coaches won't be similar in their success because one has swag and one doesn't, and I wholeheartedly don't think that swag plays any role in the success of a head coach, especially not in the sport of baseball. But football is, I feel the same way, although it could be argued a little bit more. I don't know.
Tony has no swag.
Anyways,
Tony has aura. He does not have swag.
Okay, aura is the perfect word. Yes. Tony had a ton of aura. Has a ton of aura.
No swag whatsoever. I mean, I guess you're right.
Nick Saban's got no swag.
No, he doesn't.
Has a ton of aura. Kurt Signetti is a square. but
Yeah,
he's got aura
swag is
somehow.
mostly appearance, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe when I said swag for, I mean I do think Landon has swag, but it is because of his appearance. Again, I saw a photo of him after the game in front of his
No, he
big
does.
old truck, and I had a flat bill on and some Jordan Dunks and a big old chain. Like he's got swag to him, but in terms of pitching, flair would be the better word.
Yeah. I'm bringing outside noise into the podcast, and I apologize for derailing. Teagan, yes, too many free passes, but he battled, which is what you need a Friday night guy to do. His stuff has been really good. They couldn't hit him, and you might think, oh, well, he should be able to overpower him, and it's like, well, they showed us they can hit later in the weekend. So he and Mac were both phenomenal. Huge test for Teagan with UCLA on deck this Friday. For those that don't know, UCLA swept top 10 ranked TCU this past weekend. So the preseason projected 1-1 prospect, Rock Chalowski, or however you say it, he's been at it as advertised. He's kind of the West Coast version of Justin LeBron. He's been really good. Although he went 1 for 13 in Omaha and his only hit was a single, meaningless, no RBIs. So guy's not really cut out for the big moment, but we'll see. Bulletin board material? No, I'm just kidding.
I can't wait until
he
the
did only
Diamond
have
Vols
one.
podcast ends up on a UCLA pregame hype video, and it's just
He-
Will Heflin saying he's not
yeah.
built for the moment, and he proceeds to go 3 for 4 with 3 home runs.
Well, it would be right on brand in February. You know, I watched him do absolutely nothing in Omaha against LSU and Arkansas, and his one hit was I believe against the Fighting Dan Skirkus, and it was a single. So, or maybe it was against LSU. Anyways, Teagan's got his work cut out for him, but I'm excited to see him throw in that environment against UCLA. It'd be a really good challenge for him. They have a really good lineup, and he's certainly a phenomenal player. He's going to go in the top 3 picks, whether he's won one or not. I'm just throwing salt, throwing shade. Wonder if he has swag though.
I don't know. I have to do some. I'll get back to you next week after I see him play in person. Thoughts on Landon's outing?
Really good as well. He's got the hybrid or whatever you want to call it, the cutter slider going, and he seems to command that fastball put away pitch really well, the kind of up in the zone one, and Teagan does too. But you really do get that like ride Dollander vibe from when he goes that fastball up. It almost looks like it's gonna stay at the belt, or like it's gonna be belt high, and it just kind of stays up there. So they're both good, but they should be at this point. Like, and I know we lost the series and are saying they're good, but it's Kent State. Like, I don't even think they sniffed the home run this weekend. Those two guys racked up strikeouts and kept Tennessee in the game, as they should.
Yes, absolutely.
And it was the hitter's fault, as usual, as it always is, regardless. If Tennessee gives up 14 runs, it's the hitter's fault. They should have scored 15. It's always the hitter's fault.
What about the defense?
Those are the hitters. You know what I mean? Like,
Tuesday. Speaking of those hitters, we're going to speak more about those hitters on the other side of this quick timeout here in the Diamond Vols podcast on GoVols247.com. Welcome back into the Diamond Vols podcast on GoVols247.com. I am Ben McKee, and I am joined by Will Heflin, and we now have the unfortunate responsibility of talking about Tennessee's offense. I wanted to kind of run through game by game. So we'll do that on the offensive side. We've already touched on the pitching and the concerns there and the concern levels there, what we saw, what we thought. Now we got to do it with the hitting. So we'll go game by game. We'll start with some positive. Since we're leading off on the offense, we'll talk about what appears to be an established leadoff hitter for Tennessee, Will, and that is Jay Abernathy. He did have himself one heck of a weekend.
He did. This is what I wanted coming into the season. And he is the one sophomore superstar that has played that way to this point. So he hammered that ball. That was a homer. That was a beautiful swing. I know he's only got 2 career home runs, but neither one of them were cheap. They were both absolutely smoked. And he also had the triple that I don't know how they overturned that. Should have been a little league home run. And they said he got him on the foot. But I don't know if I had conclusive evidence that the hand wasn't already in there when the foot was tagged. But that's neither here nor there.
I did.
You saw like he was out.
He was out.
You didn't have to say that. Anyways, Jay was good, man. They need him to be that spark plug so that way Blaine and Ford can hit with guys on. And I like mixing it. I like mixing it up when Elander did, and that seemed to provide a spark. If you want to go back to Ford Brown 1-2 at some point, I don't hate that, especially if Jay, would be better somewhere else in the lineup. But I just think he's the prototype leadoff man. So no need to reinvent the wheel or overthink it, and let him do his thing.
Yeah, he had a great all-around weekend. Obviously, with the bat, you mentioned the home run. Then he has the ball off the wall that was for a double, I believe, in Saturday's game, if I'm not mistaken. And then the triple as well. I mean, he was just spraying the baseball all over the ballpark, laid down a bunt to beat the shift, shows the speed on the bases as well, makes a great diving catch in the right center or left center field gap as well. And the trickiest balls to catch are the ones hit right at you for outfielders and even infielders as well. But line drives hit right at you are very difficult. You saw Blaine Brown have issue with one out in left field that led to a disaster of an inning in Game 3 for Tennessee. But Jay I think I've noticed he really picks up the ball well off the bat. He has great reaction. So defense, base running, offense, he's just such an explosive athlete, and it was really on full display in every area of the game this weekend, and seems to be a really positive development for Tennessee because I think that's a game changer. As game-changing as Henry Ford and Blaine Brown are, having that element of Jay Abernathy in front of them only makes the top of Tennessee's lineup 10 times more dangerous. So I'm excited to see what Jay does this weekend against even better pitching. And then Tyler Myatt bails Tennessee out. Josh Elander basically said that after the game. It just was not a very good night on offense outside of Jay and Tyler Myatt. Just poor situational hitting. These numbers are ugly. So if you have small children or any children in your area, please encourage them to put earmuffs on, please, because Tennessee was 2 for 10 with 2 outs. They were 2 for 13 with the runners on base, and they were 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. 143 batting average, 154 batting average, 200 batting average in situational hitting opportunities. And what's even more maddening about that is they were 4 for 9 to lead off an inning. 4 for 9 to lead off an inning. You'll take that any game, just about. And they were not able to take advantage of it. And Tyler Myatt not only bails the offense out, but he also bailed Bo Rudy out of the blown save. And, Tyler Myatt bailed Tennessee out with one heck of a swing there to lead off the bottom of the 9th inning, which was a cool moment. That was a long day because obviously Wes Rucker had passed the afternoon before. Tennessee baseball did a great job of honoring him with the open seat in the press box, a moment of silence before the game. Rick Barnes and Josh Elander both had very nice comments about Wes when they spoke to the media on Friday. And then as I told WBIR, I had no doubt in my mind that when I saw Tyler Myatt step onto the on-deck circle that he was going to hit a walk-off home run, because I knew Wes was watching. Wes, and I meant to say this earlier, and I apologize if my thoughts were a bit sporadic to open up the podcast. I haven't quite organized them yet, given the situation, and hope you can be understanding if that was a little bit cluttered on top of my usual clutter that I throw out on each podcast. But I meant to say this earlier. It was just a really cool day at the ballpark, and Wes loved being at the ballpark, and for it to end that way, when I know he was watching down and enjoying that baseball game, that was a pretty cool moment for that to happen, and a heck of a swing from Tyler Myatt. I don't remember the exact numbers off the bat. I think it was 114 off the bat and traveled 443 feet. Last time I checked, that's really good.
Yeah, it's far and hard. I thought it was like 431. I don't mean to discount him. I hope I'm wrong.
It was somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was well over 400. So phenomenal swing, and they needed it. I don't have any other thoughts. I mean, the numbers are bad. Wait till you read off game 2.
Yeah, game 2, they did not have a single hit in any of those situational opportunities. They were 0 for 9 with 2 outs. They were 0 for 15 with runners on base. They were 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position. And I just realized this part of it because I had only focused on those 0-fers. They were also 0 for 3 with a runner on third, less than 2 outs. Once again, for the second straight game, they led off an inning 4 times. They were 4 for 9 leading off an inning and still went 0 for with 2 outs, runners on base, runners in scoring position, and a runner on third, less than 2 outs. That continued to be the theme in game 2 and carried over into game 3. At one point this weekend, Tennessee went, I did not add up how many innings it was. If my quick math is correct, it would be about 18 innings Tennessee went in between hits with a runner in scoring position. They had a hit in the 3rd inning of game 1 with a runner in scoring position, and they did not have another hit with a runner in scoring position until the 3rd inning of game 3. That just cannot happen, and the ugliness really happened there in game 2. You did have the Henry Ford home run in the 1st inning, and there was absolutely nothing after that outside of Stone Lawless going 2 for 3 with a couple of singles. Jay Abernathy, he had his double that I mentioned. He roped off the wall, also walked. Just the offense was just abysmal in that second game.
Yes, and Kent State did a better job than Tennessee did of limiting free passes. There were less freebies. But Tennessee still had action. I mean, you mentioned it. They got 4 leadoff men on to start an inning and just weren't able to capitalize or execute, however you want to call it. I think execute's kind of a strong word. Maybe the runner on third, less than 2 outs, but like runners in scoring position, 0 for 9 with 2 outs. Like, that's not executing. That's just not getting hits. It's just not hitting well, because executing is like, don't have a false start, block the guy you're supposed to block. It's like baseball, you can do everything right and not get a hit. I mean, you can hit a ball 110 miles an hour, and you don't get a hit. But there are certain situations where you do have to execute. But even when Tennessee didn't need to execute, and they just needed guys to make successful plays with their talent and trying to win the game, it didn't happen. And it was so bad that it's not even worth digging into for us. And if you're Elander, it's almost like you do a full reset. You do a chicken in the locker room, Serrano style.
He did a reset with the lineup on Sunday.
Yeah, Pedro Serrano, voodoo something in the locker room. Like, if you're single, you go find a girl to kiss or something, get out of your slump, whatever, like all sorts of whatever you can do. Because it's not just this weekend, right? This weekend it happened to more guys, but like Levi right there in the middle of the order could not be off to a more slow start. He looks frustrated. He looks indecisive. He is in a good old fashioned baseball slump. And when he gets out of it, he's going to light the world up, right? He's going to hit a bunch of home runs. He's going to be powerful, right? But the swing and miss right now, the checks, there's a lot of check swings, and he's missing pitches that he should not miss. So he's one, right? And then you mentioned Stone had the hits, but there hasn't been much power there for Stone, and he's right there in the middle. He inserted Maya, especially with Reese sick this weekend. Still waiting on Grimmer to be back, but like you haven't gotten anything from Manny. You haven't gotten anything from Newstrom. You didn't get
You haven't
anything
gotten
from
anything up the
Ariel.
middle outside of Finley Bates.
Yeah, he inserted Finley Bates, and Finley Bates had a single. And he had the pinch hit home run in his first Tennessee at bat a week ago. So we'll see if he's the guy on Friday or not. But I think it's as a unit, just need to get into the flow and maybe do a little reset. But if there's one thing we know about Josh Elander is that he knows hitting. So that's oddly for me, like more worrisome out of what I've seen because it was worse. But if you should be confident about anything improving, it should be that.
More worried about. What do you mean by more worrisome? Like more worried about hitting than the other parts of the team, or more worried about hitting after week 2?
No, I'm saying in comparison to other aspects of the game, hitting should be the last concern with the talent and the coach that you have in place. And I'm trying to decide if it is.
Right. Because I just don't think we know yet. Like we mentioned earlier, was that a one-off? Was that just a bad weekend at the park?
I mean, aside from Blaine Brown against Nichols, it's kind of similar. I think it's just been an overall slow start offensively.
Right. So it does happen, but in the moment, it's like, okay, is this who they're going to be, or is this just a slow start and a funky weekend? We just don't know yet, unfortunately. I wish we could look into the future. I would have a lot more money if I could. The other issue in game 2 was the defense. You had 3 errors. Henry Ford booted a baseball at third base. Ariel threw a double play ball into the dugout. And Manny also had an error as well at shortstop. So the defense was not good in game 2. It wasn't that great in game 3 either. They had 2 errors in that game, one by Stone Lawless, the throwing error, and another error by Manny Marin. And that begs the question. One of the big topic of conversations that popped up over the weekend amongst Tennessee baseball fans are the struggles of Manny Marin. And quite frankly, some fans are over Manny, which personally I disagree with. Does Manny need to be better? Yes, absolutely. It was a rough weekend for him in the field, at the plate, but there are some who feel like he didn't do much as a freshman last year, which I don't agree with that. I think for all these guys, expectations are sky high, and not that Manny lit the world on fire as a freshman, but to act like he didn't do anything when he helped Tennessee get to a super regional with a big home run in the regional and a couple of other big hits, I think is naive. And he had a couple of other moments throughout the course of the season. And he's still a sophomore, a very talented young player who has played a decent amount of baseball at this point, but he's still young, inexperienced. He does not like cold weather. I think that's been pretty obvious watching Manny adjust to East Tennessee and the weather that East Tennessee goes through during his first 2 seasons here, but still young, dealing with a hand injury, and has only played 3 games. So, like, does he need to be better? Absolutely. But to write him off, I think is ridiculous because he's as talented as anybody on this baseball team. Yeah, and the other question is, like, if not Manny, who are you putting at shortstop? Ariel Antigua is not the answer. Has Ariel looked good defensively this year? Yes, he has. And if Manny continues to commit errors time and time again, then okay, maybe we do put Ariel in the lineup and live with the offense and it be what it is if Manny's going to be that big of a defensive liability. But I just don't feel like the sample size is big enough to reach that point just yet. We know what Ariel Antigua is. We don't know what Manny Marin is when you look at the two different sample sizes. So again, does Manny need to be better? Yes. To give up on him, I think is absolutely crazy. And even if you were to give up on him and you did want to see somebody else, the person you should be clamoring for is not Ariel Antigua. It's Finley Bates, at least as of right now. We know what Ariel is. We don't know what Finley is. We don't know what Manny is. So I feel like that conversation was had out of frustration this weekend and was very, very premature.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even writing off Newstrom. I mean, I know that take that I had is not looking good right now, but I mean, he's a guy that if they want to reach their ceiling, they need him as well. I will say they're lucky that they were at home this weekend, or Ford would have had about 4 errors on his name after this weekend, because you said he had 1.
We had
I don't know how that's
Saturday.
the case. I
For the
mean,
weekend, they only gave him 1 error.
yeah. They gave him an ejecto mid is what they gave him. He couldn't catch the ball. I mean, knocking it down and it not going to the outfield doesn't mean it's an automatic hit and you don't get an error.
The unfortunate part of college baseball is that the official scorer has to deal with the coaches asking them to change it.
I get it.
Expressing their opinion. If Frank was notorious for this, as I'm sure you know, like when Frank, if there's a play in the field, he wants it to be an error instead of a hit because it makes his pitcher stats look better. And same thing with on the flip side of that with the position players. They want their offense to get hits probably when they shouldn't, and they want the defense not to have as many errors as it seems sometimes. So that I wish, as college baseball fans and somebody who respects the statistics and the final box score, I wish we could get somebody in here like they have in the major leagues to where like his word rules all, his or her word rules are all, and it's the final say. Like they don't have any bias towards either team that's playing, and what they say goes, and that's that.
Yeah. It's just always going to be a gray area but the rules should the play have been made? Yes. If you didn't, it's an error. But that's always debatable. And there were some hard hit balls at Ford. I'm not trying to poo-poo on him. He made some really nice plays at third, but you went through the box score and I was like, wait, he had 1 error? Anyways, yeah, you don't have any other option right now than Manny at short. And you go hit in 40 degrees with a sore hand and let me know. And if I'm not saying you, Ben, I'm saying you, Joe Smith or Jane Doe, who wants Manny on the bench, go hit in 40 degrees with a sore hand. Let me know how it goes. I'm not making an excuse for the guy. He's got to be way better. He's way too talented. But 280 as a freshman in the SEC, I think did he finish around 265 to 280, somewhere in there? That is, you'll find a lot of big leaguers that didn't hit that as a freshman in the SEC, and guys that went on to have unbelievable college careers and hit for 350 plus their next few years. So ceiling's really high with Manny. Get the hand healthy, maybe a little bit of warmth, do that guy a long way. So, yeah, we'll see. Hold your judgment on the whole team. No better example than holding your judgment on the specific case of Manny Marin.
Manny hit 283 as a freshman last season. Only 3 home runs, 9 doubles, but 45 games started, 58 played. And he hit 283 and had a couple of huge hits in the postseason against Wake Forest. Hit the home run in the Knoxville Regional Final to help Tennessee win that game. He had 3 RBIs, 3 hits, 3 at-bats. So I just baseball is you can't go off of a small sample size in baseball. You just can't. Manny has a lot of talent, and I would bet on him being a key contributor for Tennessee this season, and they need it. And now he is part of a bigger overall concern with the offense right now, and it's something that we've talked about in passing, and you've gone more into detail about it. But like in order for this offense to click this year and for it to be what it needs to be, that sophomore class of Jay Abernathy, I know Stone's a redshirt sophomore, but I kind of throw him into that class of second year guys. But Jay Abernathy, Chris Newstrom, Levi Clark, Manny Marin, I'll throw Stone in there, like I just said. Like those guys have to take a step forward. Those guys have to play to their potential in order for Tennessee baseball to meet expectations. And as a group, so far, they have not done so. Jay has held up his part of the deal. And Stone's off to a decent start offensively. He does have 2 home runs, and has had a couple of other hits as well. His numbers look good. I think Stone's off to a nice start, but the others are not quite living up to their full potential yet. And it kind of brings me to one of my bigger takeaways from the weekend, Will, is I did not think that Tennessee was going to need Garrett Wright and Blake Grimmer. Desperate may be too strong of a word, but I don't know a better word to use right now, so I'll say it. I didn't think that they would need those 2 injured guys this desperately this early on in the season. It's clear that those guys are needed and might be a boost to the offense.
Yeah, a boost is a perfect word. I don't know if they're desperate, but they definitely need either those 2 pushing guys who are in there, or B, those 2 to be inserted and boost. And I mean, you and I, we've always liked Grimmer's swing. We love the easy power. Like, he's on plane for a while. Like, there's a reason that they gave him a shot in some SEC games last year, and it was like, okay, they know it's going to be there with that guy, and this is kind of the year where he's a part of that group. I think he's Stone's class technically, redshirt sophomore. Time to take a step forward, and so maybe one of those 2 or both will be a boost. But I'm with you. Desperate's not the word, but it'll be nice to get them back. At least have the option.
They're needed. I think they're needed right now. I really do, because I think that they can help defensively and at the plate. Garrett Wright is probably one of your better defensive players. We'll see if his offense will translate to the SEC, but I would be surprised if he can't cut it in the field. I mean, he's known for his defensive ability both behind the plate and in center field. And I like Stone Lawless. I still have stock in Stone Lawless, but he made some pretty poor throws this weekend. If that is going to continue, then you may be looking at Garrett Wright behind the plate defensively, because Garrett Wright is a really good defensive catcher in addition to being able to play in the outfield. And Jay is going to be able to play a good center field defensively. So maybe Garrett can help shore up some of the defense in left that we saw this weekend, behind the plate that we saw this weekend, if those struggles continue. And I will add that I don't think that they will continue with Stone, but it is certainly something that he has to clean up, because it was an issue this weekend. So,
but either way, I don't think they want him to have to catch all 3 every weekend, especially right now. Like in May, sure, but
I was surprised Levi caught or did not catch this weekend. That caught me off guard. Like, why? I don't get that.
I mean, if Stone's going to be your guy, and you
Right.
don't, and you think Wright is your 2, or your 1, and he and Stone are in a competition when Wright is back, then you probably won't see Stone catch in the midweek. So let him catch all 3.
I guess that just doesn't make sense to me when you don't want Stone to catch all three on the weekend, and this is the time of year to certainly allow him to get off of his feet defensively. And you ran Levi out there the first weekend. Publicly, they've talked about how they have a lot of trust in Levi behind the plate. I don't know if that's just coach speak publicly, but they've at least
Maybe
said that they have full confidence in him back there.
maybe they
So
saw something that they weren't comfortable with, or they knew that Kent State was the type of team where you need your best defensive catcher in at all times.
yeah, that's probably the answer, right there for sure. The other topics that I wanted to touch on before we get out of here, um, and just to put a bow on that last conversation, I can see Grimmer really fitting in. It's just something that kind of caught me off guard. I didn't think that they were going to need them to get back as soon as they can. I thought I, that you summed it up perfectly. Desperate's not the right word, but they need them back. I think that's safe to say at this point for many reasons. So we'll see if they're able to get back this weekend. Garrett Wright looks like a guy that's going to be available to play this weekend. When he initially had the surgery, the thought was that okay, maybe he comes back early, but realistically, maybe he's back by the weekend we go to Arlington. That would be this weekend, and I think he can help with some of the defensive issues, and he's another nice bat to add to the mix when guys are struggling. Blake Grimmer just doesn't seem like he's close with the back. That seems to really be giving him issues, but we'll continue to monitor that situation, and I'm sure Josh Elander will be asked about it after Tuesday's midweek game against Bellarmine. And I'll add, I thought the wind, the cold weather also impacted the offense. I'm not going to make that as an excuse, but I thought there were a lot of balls hit out to right field, right center that just died because of the wind on Friday and Saturday. And then as it got really cold on Sunday, some tough luck there. Also, and we should not be saying this at this point in the podcast. Tip of the hat to Kent State. They played really well this weekend. These conversations are not taking anything away from Kent State. I think that's a good baseball team, especially at the mid-major level. And there's a couple of guys on that roster that will be back in college baseball next season that I'm maybe circling if I'm Tennessee and keeping an eye on the rest of their season to see what their off season is going to look like. But the center fielder, who I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name because I would butcher it, he was a lot of fun to watch in that first game with some of the defensive plays that he made. So there was some tough luck involved this weekend with the weather, and then Kent State just playing small ball perfectly throughout the weekend at the plate with a couple of bunts, not giving – yeah, maybe I shouldn't say this because I haven't looked it up statistically, but didn't feel like there were a ton of free passes. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but just played a really clean brand of baseball is what I'm getting at, and it took advantage, as you said to lead off the podcast, took advantage of a Tennessee team that played really poor baseball, did not play clean baseball, and Sunday was just little league bad. They had a couple of innings that were just not good whatsoever. I mentioned earlier that Stone Lawless and Manny Marin had an error, and then the offense continued to struggle situationally. 1 for 9 with 2 outs. They were a little bit better with runners on base. They were 3 for 9, but still only 3 hits and only 9 opportunities, which is not ideal. 1 for 9 with 2 outs, as I said. 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. So that's a good average, 333 average, but only 2 hits in a game with runners in scoring position and only 6 opportunities is not going to get it done. And they were 1 for 9 to lead off an inning. And a couple of those outs, speaking of the tough luck, especially in game 3, I don't know if this was the case in game 2 because I wasn't really able to watch, as I mentioned, because I was at basketball. But there were a couple of balls that Tennessee smoked just right at somebody. I mean, I think late in the game, Blaine Brown, back to back, their last at bats, Blaine and Levi smoked the baseball right at somebody, and just that was deflating. So just not a pretty weekend for the offense, and you hope that it was more of a one-off. The only other thing that I can think of to touch on before we get out of here because we've hit on all the things that Tennessee fans I feel like we're frustrated over the weekend. Cameron Appenzeller did not pitch this weekend, which I found very, very odd. I asked Josh Elander if Cameron was available this weekend, and I thought the answer was a bit weird. He said that he was available, but then his answer did not suggest that he was really available. I'll read you Josh Elander's answer, and you tell me what you think. Yeah, he was available today, just kind of monitoring his pitch count. We want to make sure we continue to build him up, but he'll be ready to rock and roll this week. What do you make of that response? And again, not the end of the world at all. I don't mean to make a big deal out of nothing, but I think you could have used Cameron Appenzeller out of the bullpens at certain times this weekend.
Yeah, that makes me think he may have went to the training room after the midweek, or because he had thrown a lot in the first 5 games. I think he had 3 outings, right? In the first, or just the 2. Threw against Nichols and then threw it in the midweek, and it was cold. Makes me think there was some soreness, and he had the green light, but Elander decided, let's make sure he's ready for Arlington. That's my thought. There were also some command issues in the midweek, so maybe just kind of a reset for him. But I don't think it's that. I think it's definitely, it was cold and there could have been some soreness. So be smart, because that's a big time arm. And if I remember correctly, did he had an arm issue, which was part of the reason he ended up making it to school, was he didn't get to pitch the first part of his senior year, or am I off there?
You were correct. It wasn't anything serious, but just some general arm stuff he dealt with at times during his senior year, towards the front half, as you said.
Yeah. So that would be
And
the reasoning.
There's not a
for
lot of
me.
meat on those bones.
No, there's
I
not.
saw him in person for the first time when he did his media interview after the midweek game, when he pitched and threw around 50 pitches. And he's the baseball version of Nate Amen. Tall, lanky, no meat on the bones. There's a lot. That's the biggest area of his game that he needs to improve upon, is just his physicality. He's just got to gain weight. So that was my reaction as well. Just made me raise my eyebrow. Again, not anything that Josh Elander said wrong or did wrong. I just would have been nice to have Appenzeller this weekend out of the bullpen, in my opinion. And just his answer, he said he was available. Then his answer was like, okay, that does not sound like a guy that is available. Sounds like you're trying to be cautious with him. And I don't blame you at all. Again, he's not the most physical guy right now. And he threw a lot and has dealt with soreness in the past. So absolutely be cautious with him, because I think in order for you to reach your ceiling this season, Appenzeller has to be a part of it. I don't know how big of a part, but he needs to play a role.
Yeah, well said.
All right, last thing before we get out of here. Scale of 1 to 10. How worried should Tennessee fans be? To put a bow on this podcast.
Worried about this team in particular?
Worried that this weekend was a sign of things to come.
At this point, 3. If things don't go well next weekend, over a 5.
That's about where I'm at. A 3, I'm certainly at. That's exactly where I was as well. I just the lack of fundamental baseball is my red flag. That is what is most concerning to me, because You can kind of get by. I mean, your early teams, the early Tony teams did this. You can get by and be a good team and make the tournament if you don't have a ton of depth in your lineup or a ton of reliable arms out of the bullpen. You can still be a good team, but only if you do the little things right. If you field the baseball cleanly, if you make good decisions on the bases, and I know I'm kind of saying two things at once here, but the situational hitting, I understand that kind of coincides with the depth of your lineup. But if you have a couple of guys play more towards the back of their baseball card than they have to this point, then that evens out a little bit. But you can get by with maybe not having as many guys as you thought if you can play a clean brand of baseball. And the last X amount of months that we've watched, I know this year's team is totally new. I get that. But the clean brand of baseball has been a bugaboo for this team since basically the start of SEC play last season. And it's like an extended trend that I think is concerning. So that is, I'm at a 3 right now. We'll see what happens. But if the lack of fundamental baseball continues, then that concern would obviously continue to grow.
Yeah. We have to be careful and mindful about how we portray the how much emphasis we're putting on errors and clean baseball. Like clean baseball at the college level is not error free. Like it's not the major leagues, right? But the thing that's been the bugaboo is the timing of it and the lack of complementary baseball after it to pick each other up, right? It was like the carryover that I think you're drawing from is anytime there was an error or an untimely walk or something like, it always seemed to bite them. And this weekend, the big bad innings, it bit them, right?
It spirals.
Yeah, it spirals. And so like you go watch or just look at box scores. There's not going to be many zeros in the error column all across the country.
You're right.
But when you make an error with nobody out, nobody on, and you get a double play, guess what? Wipes it away. You make an error with 2 outs, 1 guy on, you strike out the next dude, pitcher gets out of it, everybody's excited. Heck, it turns into a good thing for you, right? But the game has a way of getting you when you make errors, and a good team will capitalize on those. And Tennessee's got to pick each other up because errors are going to happen. It's college baseball. They're kids, and it's just part of the game, right? So that's my thing about it. We just have to be careful, saying that they're not playing clean baseball because, like, the standard for clean baseball is not error-free. It's like clean baseball is you make your errors in a time where you can make up for them. And there is such a thing as a time, like, I don't know how to describe it. Everybody makes the same mistakes. The good teams make them when it doesn't cost them, right? It's like they don't make their errors with 2 outs in the 9th and a runner on base. They don't make their errors when their pitcher just walked 2 guys, right? They make their errors when things are going well and they already built the lead, So that's my thing about it is, like, good teams seem to make them at the right time because everybody makes them.
You're right. And I'll say the same thing that we said on the last podcast, and that's we tried not to overreact too much in the positive from the sweep of Nichols because it was just one weekend against an inferior opponent. And I'll say the same thing this weekend on the flip side of that is that it was an ugly weekend. There are a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. There are a lot of worries, but we haven't gotten to March yet. The book, even if they look awful this weekend in Texas, the book on this team, I mean, when's the earliest it will be written? is Hoover, technically speaking. Now, I think midway through SEC play is when we will have a great idea of what this team actually is. But even
Yeah,
if they look awful midway through SEC play, they could theoretically still turn it around. But
they had
common
to do
sense
what
tells us,
Florida did last year.
right,
They were
it's
what,
possible.
1-11,
Yes,
and almost
right.
hosted a
So,
regional somehow. That's crazy.
right. So like the book, it's the same with the basketball team. Everybody wanted to write Nate Amen off and Jacoby Gillespie off, Tennessee basketball team off early January and after both Kentucky losses. Was it ugly? Yes. Did things need to be fixed? Yes. Was it worrisome? Yes. But you know what? The season isn't decided in January. It's not. It's decided in March. And even now, they've won 4 straight. They've won 9 out of their last 11. They seem to be trending in the right direction. Even when they're on the up and up, their season has still not been defined yet. It will be defined by what they do in the NCAA tournament. Whether that's fair or unfair, right or wrong, good for the sport, good for the program or not, that's the way it is. And that's the same with this Tennessee baseball team. Like, it is too early to come to conclusions about the future of this player, the future of this coach, or what this team is going to be. Even if they look poor the next couple of weeks, until we'll say the middle of SEC play, that's kind of when the book starts to be truly written on a team. Up until then is kind of when they can get things going. And even then, as I mentioned, they could still get it going if they get to Hoover or when they get to Hoover and make a run after that. So a lot of baseball left to be played, a lot to clean up, but we're not going to come to sweeping judgments and takeaways just yet. The best way to summarize it, I'm just in wait and see mode. That's where I'm at right now. I didn't think this weekend would happen, obviously, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be a bad team this year. There's still a lot of talent, good coaches, plenty of reasons to believe they'll get it figured out, but we just won't know. I do know that we will see Blaine Brown open again on the mound Tuesday when Tennessee plays Bellarmine. Did you enjoy watching his inning of work on the mound? And I'll add this. I was Mr. Negative earlier. I pointed out him diving for a ball he shouldn't have in left field that led to Tennessee spiraling in an inning in game 3. He also made a heck of a throw in game 2 to throw a guy out at the plate. A great tag by Stone Lawless as well to beat a great slide from the base runner. But did you enjoy watching Blaine Brown get on the mound and toe the rubber last Tuesday?
Yep, and I'll enjoy it again tomorrow.
You will? I hope you will.
Nothing
We will
else to
see.
say there.
Nothing else to say there for sure. We
Who was
will.
it? Vanderbilt last year didn't start very well. Ended up as the 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. But I remember poo-pooing on them early in the year because we were like, golly, they can't hit a lick. And they couldn't. And then about midway through SEC play, it was like they started hitting 6 homers a game and still stealing on everybody. And I know they choked their regional and lost to Louisville, or was it Wright State and then Louisville, or Louisville and then Wright State?
Something like
Either
that.
way, they lost as the 1 seed, which is the curse that started again this year after Tennessee broke the curse in 24. But either way,
And
I'm
everybody thought
saying,
they were going to win the national championship
yeah. And
going into the tournament.
yeah, baseball is a fickle game. You can be the best 1 week and the worst the next, or the worst and
It's
then the
just too
best.
early. It's just too early. Mark Etheridge from D1 Baseball. I knew Tennessee had a young team. I did not realize they were the youngest team in the SEC until Mark Etheridge pointed out on his Twitter this morning that Tennessee is 16th out of 16 in experience. And that's not at all an excuse. But on the flip side of that, while it's not an excuse, I think you'd also be foolish to not think that that is going to contribute to some early season struggles, much like we've seen with the basketball team. A lot of inexperience, new guys from different places, new guys in new roles. I think this team is going to need time to grow and learn each other, just like the basketball team needed time.
I don't like comparing baseball to basketball, but yeah, I agree.
Why?
Because it's a different game. And I mean, Rick Barnes has been a head coach since before you or I were even thought about being alive. And then, Elander's in his first year, and baseball's just very different. I mean, Yeah, it's just a different sport.
It is a different sport. I'm obviously not comparing the sports themselves, but there are a lot of similarities with the roster construction. Whether the head coach is more experienced or not, there's a lot of similarities with the roster construction, which is my point. That basketball roster needed time to gel and come together, and I think the inexperience of this baseball roster is going to need time to develop, gel, and come together as well. Was the only point that I was making. But Mark Etheridge, his tweet that I was referencing from earlier in the day, the focus will go toward Josh Elander, who was elevated to the head coaching spot with Tony Vitello leaving in fall practice. But it's also largely a new roster with the least experienced position group. So not even the roster, the position players, the least experienced position group in the conference. So not at all an excuse, but I also, on the flip side of that, think somebody would be naive to think that that's not going to contribute to some early season struggles as well, regardless of how talented the prospect is.
Totally fair.
We will be back later in the week to preview the weekend ahead. I will be going to Texas this weekend. I leave Thursday night, so we will get a podcast hammered out and posted before I leave Thursday. So Will and I will make sure we're on the ball about that and get back to you about our thoughts from the midweek win and begin to look ahead to this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. We appreciate everybody listening. Apologies for a bit of my sporadic nature. I realize that that's probably the norm, especially if you ask Sam Smith, but been a chaotic couple of days, unfortunately. And again, want to express that our thoughts and prayers are with the Rucker family, especially Lauren, Wes's wife, and Hank and their baby girl that's on the way. If you have the means to do so, I'd encourage you to contribute to Wes's family's GoFundMe. It's been incredible to see how much money has been raised and see the people who have contributed, like Kirk Herbstreit and Scott Van Pelt, some really cool names, and so many others have stepped up. I don't mean to not mention anybody, of course, but encourage you to, if you have the means and feel inclined to do so, to help contribute to Wes's family, because they are certainly going to mean it. Will, thanks so much for your time tonight, my friend.
You as well, as always.